Luna's impassive face broke into a wide smile. Fenity, and I shall join you. She flexed her wings and rolled her soldiers. Zemina defeated us in one timeline, but we will have the other hoof it on. I do not intend to fight her, Luna, Celestia said calmly. Not if I don't have to. You intend to reason with her? Luna asked with skepticism. Are you seeing just how damaged her mind is, Celestia? You saw her at her worst. Perhaps there is still time to catch her before she falls too far. Celestia inhaled, breathing in the first memory she had of Sunset. Meeting her for the first time in the school office. I must try to talk to her. She must still be in there somewhere. That filly I found so long ago. Luna gave Celestia her deepest stare. And what will you do if you fall, sister? The fire in Celestia's heart flickered, threatening to give in to the cold pain. Young Sunset sat in front of her, smiling with an innocence known only to fools. She mouthed something Celestia did fast, replaced by an older Sunset with twisted smile and wide eyes. Celestia turned away and squeezed her eyes shut. I will do what I must, she said, her voice so heavy, it barely rose out of her throat, just as I always have. Are you sure you can face her alone? Luna placed the hoof on Celestia's shoulder. Because I am ready to join you, fight or no fight. You know, guys, I see this, and I don't know why, but lately, I'm guessing I've just read too many forum posts. Trying to put Celestia and Luna anywhere near the action is starting to irk me. Maybe I just read too many forum posts where I keep hearing the same type of whining. Why don't Celestia and Luna get into more of the action? I want more Celestia and Luna. I wanna. And all I can think of is, you don't want the main six to be heroes? No. Then again, I've read some forum posters that don't believe that the main six should be heroes. This is total bullshit. So I guess seeing Luna, Celestia trying to step in, I feel like I really want to push her away. This is what happens when you read too many forum posts. It ruins what should be a good scene. Also, maybe I'm still feeling the effects of the Season 2 premiere of Lunaverse, where Luna was in there. And I feel like spritzing her with my no-god potion. Celestia gave her a loving smile. I love you dearly, Luna. But yes, this is something I must do alone. I won't have any barriers between us. And, if we should come to combat, if I fall... You shall not! Luna's voice rose dangerously close to the royal candelab voice. By mother's name, you will return to me, Celestia. You are the princess of the sun, not Sunset Shiva. No matter how strong she gets, you are greater. I shall indeed remember that. Celestia pulled Luna into a hug and whispered, Whatever happens out there, know I love you completely. It never came down to it. Equestria will flourish and prosper under your sole care. They broke apart. Celestia spread her angelic wings. But I do intend to return, with every pony safe and sound in tow. Every pony. Celestia leapt off the balcony and took to the skies. Canterlot grew smaller and smaller beneath her, so the ponies were not but ants. She faced north and took off, feeling the wind whip her face. She kept her eyes open against the cool air, giving them an excuse to cry. Princess, look what I learned today! I'm here, Princess, and I'm ready to learn. Promise also make you proud, Princess Celestia. Mother, look, I made this just for you. You're the only important pony to me, Mother. I love you. Celestia bit back a sob. Even if it is fruitless. Even if her mind's already gone. I must try. One more time. I must try. Ian shifted on her throne. The guard on her right flicked his ear but said nothing. The lack of questions was met with silent gratitude by Cadence. The last thing she wanted was for her guards to think she was bored. Granted, it had been a very slow day. Her cabinet session had concluded early, and there were hardly any participants today. She looked out where the new day sun made all of the Crystal Empire gleam brightly. Perfect jewels shining in the multi-hued radiance, broken only by the evenly trimmed fields of emerald green. Cadence shifted on her throne again. The guard cleared his throat. Is everything all right, Your Grace? Yes, Cadence said with a smile. Just getting comfortable. She moved one more time to punctuate her lie. While it was a gorgeous day outside, boredom was not what made Cadence visit so much. She raised the hoof and pressed it against the back of her neck, pressing the hairs down. She scanned the throne room, checking every shadow and crevice. Her ears stood attention, but only picked up the chatter and laughter from outside. It was a relentless itch that couldn't scratch. It was a hot iron placed precariously close to her soul. It was even starting to make her nauseous. An intense feeling of hatred. Keynes could not pinpoint it, but it came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Was it coming from one of her subjects? She wasn't sure if the crystal points had the capacity to hang on the scale. Was it something lingering from Sombra? Keynes shook her head. He was gone, and if she even mentioned his name, the palace would run around in a panic. No, this heat was different, and in an odd way, felt familiar. Keynes didn't memorize patterns of hatred. Her life goal was to spread love and happiness and get rid of hate. But in her life, she had come across a few points that had their hearts locked tight. This hatred felt a lot like Sunset Shimmer! Keynes exclaimed, standing up on her throne. Both her guards snapped to attack positions, brandishing their spears in the air. What is it, princess? Is there an intruder? The guard on her left asked. Intruder? A voice said softly, echoing from within the walls. Now that's a little harsh. You consider a visit from an old family member intruding. Keynes and both her guards gasped as a void opened up in the center of the room, and released a fiery-made pony in a black coat. Sunset, Keynes held a hoof to her mouth. I can't believe it. Sunset smiled. Hello, cousin. I see you've made out like a bandit. She looked around the throne room with false fascination. My, how impressive. Keynes took a step off her throne, wincing as the waves of hatred broke against her. Where have you been all these years? Oh, here, there, everywhere. Sunset said nonchalantly. I've kept myself busy, just like you have. I heard you've had quite a wedding. So sorry I missed it. Yes, Keynes said slowly. I would have loved to have had you there. Her eyes fell to the necklace around Sunset's neck as he stepped back. So, what can I expect foes to play with? Season 5. That's when the announcement happens, so wait till season 6. Keen's eyes snapped back to the malevolent look on Sunset's face. Her hackles standing yet again. Keen's remembered the Sunset from long ago. Cold, spiteful, reclusive, and occasionally mean. Though for a while, Keynes was never sure if Sunset had intentionally meant to hurt her during the library incident. But the Sunset before her was somehow completely different. Hateful, cruel, manipulative, sadistic. Keynes knew this pony would have meant to harm her back then, and laughed. Why are you here, Sunset? Keynes kept her guard up. The very tip of her horn sparked, spinning out a tiny bead of magic she hoped went unseen. I just came to say hello. Sunset sauntered closer, giving a lazy look to the guards. I wanted to see how my favorite cousin was doing. Keynes of the Crystal Empire. Does Celestia know you're back? Sunset laughed again. Oh no, I'm saving her for last. She nodded her head excitedly. Yes, Mother and I are going to have a nice long talk. Then I'm going to kill her. Keynes' blood froze. You're going to what? Oh, was I not loud enough? I said I'm going to kill Celestia. Sunset shouted. The guards raised their spears. Any enemy of the princesses must go through us! He charged before Keynes could get a word out to them. Sunset grinned and ripped the spears from their hooves before they reached her. She snapped them over her head with magic and fired a spell on the guard at the left. He turned and allowed the spell to bounce off his crystalline cloak. It bounced around the room, forcing both Keynes and Sunset to duck before it struck either in the head. Finally, it hit the carpet, leaving a smoldering crater. Huh. Interesting, Sunset said with genuine amusement. The guards rushed her again, but Sunset teleported to the side of the room, ripped a crystal from the throne, and brandished his leg to sword as the guards came at her again. When he got in close, she swung it upwards, smashing the crystal into one of their jaws. The remaining one rolled to the side and tried to flank her. Sunset ducked as he jabbed a hoof and brought the crystal club around and smashed it into his head. He crumpled to the ground, moaning in agony. Sunset stood over him with an air of superior triumph. She raised the club again. He slammed her whole body into Sunset's side, sending her sprawling across the room and onto the carpet. Her weapon landed a few feet away. Enough of this, Sunset! I will not allow you to harm my subjects or Celestia! Sunset got up. He can't upside a smile. You aren't the weak little pony I grew up with. So much for that barrier addling your brain. Can't grit her teeth, seeing the true file come to life. I can't believe I tried so hard to be your friend. There's a drop of love in you, is there? Sunset held a hoof to her heart. Of course there is. I love Celestia. I love her more than any of you. She's my mother, and a pony always loves their mother. I know love, Sunset. What you have for Celestia isn't love. That's right. The pretty princess knows everything about love. Sunset hit her mouth against her hoof and giggled to herself. But let's see how much you know about death! I'm sorry, that one liner was sucking out. My apologies. Running, she spiraled from Sunset's horn towards Cadance. It stopped short against the purple shield and rebounded out the sides. Cadance felt the strain of her magic immediately. Beads of sweat gathered on her forehead. She backed up until she was pressed against her throne. Over the roar of magic, she could hear Sunset laughing madly. Hold on. Just hold a little longer. Cadance stood her ground, keeping her concentrated on her shield, but her eyes on the door. It burst open just as the first crack in her shield appeared. Shining armor and 5 guards rushed in, all of them wielding swords in full armor. Freeze! Shining roared. Sunset broke her concentration and looked towards the contingent. She smiled wildly at him. That's a great idea. Her horn ignited as she saw a beam at the floor between them. A wall of ice erupted from the crystal floor and stretched to the ceiling, cutting Cadance and Sunset off from Shining and the guards. So, that was the spell you sent out? Sunset grinned at Cadance. I had to try harder than that. Cadance growled, seeing her warm breath against the frigid air permeated the throne room. She fired her own spell at Sunset, nearly deflected with a flick of her horn. Sunset yawned. Come on, cousin. I'm waiting for you to suck less. Brave Cadance, remember your dream. Cadance gathered the light around her horn, feeling it spin and build as a small spear. She reared back and threw the energy of all her might. It sped through the air, slamming for Sunset's face. She lowered her horn and smacked the ball back. Cadance returned at a faster speed, and Sunset did likewise. The spear of air as he bounced between them, faster and faster, until Cadance could no longer see it coming. An intense pain seared her shoulder. She collided against the throne before she rolled down to the carpet. The energy rippled through her, making her body of false spots dance in her vision. She tried to push herself up, but her shoulders screamed in pain. When the spots vanished, she found Sunset looming over her, eyes and amulet glowing piercing red. You're weak. Pathetically so. She raised the crystal club. You were never fit to be a princess. Her mouth scratched into a maniacal grin. And maybe you'll make a decent zombie. The ice behind her smashed open, and Shining burst through with a wild bellow. Sword clashed against Sunset's club. She spun to try to defend herself as sparks danced through the air. Stay away from her! Shining said with murderous intent. Oh, you must be the husband. Which means you must also be Twilight Sparkle's big brother. She licked her lips. I wonder how devastated she would be if she found you dead. Sunset looked around as the other guards filed in, a whole platoon having joined the original 5. They spread themselves in a tight circle around her and Cadance, keeping their weapons pointed on Sunset. Give up. Shining growled. We've got you surrounded. You're right. Sunset put a hoof to her cheek. Whatever am I to do? If you're thinking about teleporting, forget it. Shining grinned at her. I already put a barrier around the palace. Well, I'll give you points for trying. Sunset gave one last push with her club, moon shining out of her personal space, began to sink into a dark void on the floor. Grab her! Shiny ordered. Birds being on lunch, but only managed to dogpile another on top of nothing. Shiny stopped a hoof on the ground before dismissing the problem in favor of Keynes. Rest over to her side and knelt down. Are you alright? Keynes attempted a nod, but couldn't find the energy. It's just my shoulder, she stammered. Overall magic still running through her. She looked over and winced at the sight of the wound. Her fur had been burnt off entirely, and the skin beneath bubbled and lacerated. I'm going to get you to the infirmary, Shiny said. He turned and addressed the rest of the guards. A 24-hour perimeter around the Crystal Heart and hourly reports. Rest of you, fan out and search the city. Block all the main gates and stand guard at the station. A shout across his face. I want her alive. But if you have to drag her into dungeons and chains, I'm not going to object. The train pulled into the Crystal Empire station in the early afternoon. Sunset watched the tall spires of the sculpted crystal, glowing from under the brilliance of the sun, slide into view. Central construct pointing to the sky, a sentinel to keep watch over the other buildings. Sunset felt the train rattle to a stop as she hopped off her bed, eager to have lead the mechanical snake. She had enough train travel to last both lifetimes. She paused when she saw Twilight picking up her saddlebag. Pinkie had asked Sunset to forgive Twilight, but whenever Sunset tried to look for words, she found only anger and loathing. At the end of the day, she still had to die, and it was all Twilight's fault. You know, Sunset, if you look at it this way, it's technically your fault. At the compartment door, Pinkie was hustling everyone out. She looked back at Sunset and gave a wink before taking off as well. The room was a lot smaller with only 2 ponies in it. Twilight avoided Sunset's eye as she headed for the doorway. Sunset was tempted to just let her go, but cleared her throat and said, Twilight, can we talk? She halted in the doorway and turned around. Sure. There was a hopeless but cautious look in her eyes. Sunset stood her hoof across the compartment. Listen, I wanted to say that I hate your lying face with a passion. She shook her head. Come on, keep it together. Twilight, I want to believe you didn't do this, Sunset gestured to herself on purpose. But it's really hard right now. I know it wasn't you, but... Sunset sighed. Look, No, it's okay, Twilight said softly. Guess you have every right to be mad at me. No, I don't! I should be mad at you. I should be mad at... Well, okay, you, but either way, I should have yelled at you like that. I'm sorry. Twilight gave a faint smile. Apology accepted. Sunset looked away. I'm still mad, but I'll go try not to throw it on you. She visited, unable to think of anything else to say. When it was too much, she grabbed her hourglass and walked around Twilight. Sunset, Twilight called. I'll think of something. I promise. I won't let you just disappear. Sunset stopped and looked a hope to her eyes. Please, don't make me a promise you can't keep, Twilight. I'm going to keep it, she said with fixed determination. Like I said, you're still my friend, if you hate me right now. The whirlpool of emotions swirling within Sunset made her want to scream. You can't just let me hate you, can you? She kept walking, trying to ignore the flicker of hope in her heart. Her friends were gathered on the platform, and gave Sunset and Twilight eager looks when they approached. After a few seconds, when no one said anything, some of them looked crestfallen. So, Rainbow broke the awkward silence. Where do we start looking for those hoof guard things? Sunset looked at the mountains and fields surrounding the Empire. I don't know exactly. I was sort of just jumping around my memories, but I know the answer is in the library. Alright then, we're off to the library, Twilight spoke up. Maybe we can get Cadence and Shiny too. There she is! Right down the platform were 2 heavily armored crystal guards. They shoved tourists and luggage out of their way. It wasn't until they lunched that Sunset realized who they were coming for. To her relief, they didn't weigh as much as she feared, but they still crushed the wind out of her as they pinned her to the ground. The Hourglass dropped down from her match and rolled out the platform. You're under arrest for breaking an entry and assaulting the princess! One of them sounded over the clamor of her friends. Sunset could only grunt in response. I'm going to kill her. It was like stepping through a veil of wire, only it left her feeling empty instead of wet. Sunset looked back at the golden archway that lined the dungeon floor, and growled at the security pony operating it. She was Cut short when the second guard shoved her forward again, making the chains clasped around her robes rattle. Sunset had been tempted to break out and make a run for it instead of going to prison for a third time. And as before, she had been shoved to the masked disabling archway. Sensation was akin to when she had an inhibitor ring stuck around her horn. Legacy that started from her horn and spread to the rest of her, blocking the connection to her magic. Guard led her to the furthest cell and pushed her inside, slamming the bar shut behind her. Sunset had to admit, this was the nicest cell she had been in thus far. It was entirely made of crystal and looked like it had been freshly polished. The sound side was it had no windows, although Sunset wasn't surprised at seeing as she was somewhere beneath the city. 3 times. Sunset had now been to jail 3 times for something she hadn't done. Well, she said barely, guess I did trespass the first time in Caroline Castle. She shook her head and shuffled along the floor until the shackles began to chafe her ankles. Twilight promised to get her everything sorted out soon. In the meantime, Sunset was left alone with her thoughts. Again. She walked over to a far corner and sat down. It's all she could do until the others spoke with shining armor and explained the situation. Sunset snorted like a bull and slammed a hoof into the wall. Regretting the accident, she made contact. She held it against her chest and swore loudly. Damn it! Damn it all! Why did she have to go and attack the princess? To get you all alone, of course. On the other side of the bars, Vesper smiled her feral smile. How's my little replica? She teleported to the other side and strode forward. Sunset jumped to her hose, instinctively charging her horn. It was only to have Dizzy press against it. How are you able to use magic here? Vesper rolls her eyes. The door only works if you walk through it, idiot. She shook her head. But before I digress, have you given my offer any more thought? I have. Limited existence, fading into complete oblivion. Friend smiles of futures. Hard not to think about it. Your old weights come on her thoughts, and Vesper leaned forward. Sunset allowed herself a small smirk. Good to Tartarus. Vesper blinked. You would pick them over yourself? You choose a fate worse than death over eternal life? Guess we're not so alike after all. Why? Vesper bellowed. What is wrong with you, you useless doll? Why would you try to defend them? Sunset raised her head and looked down at Vesper. Because they're my friends. Cycle or not, illusion or not, they're my friends. I'll fight to the end to give them a future. Vesper stared at her, utterly baffled, and the corners of her lips twitched. A soft laugh came from deeper in her throat. You'll fight? You think you could give them a future? When you're the one who destroyed it in the first place. She tossed her head back. You think anything you'll do will have any difference in the long run? Sunset's smile dropped. Well, considering that if you're dead and wiped out off the face of the earth, you'll seem to understand your life is pointless. Sunset's horns farted, and Sunset flew against the wall. Chains around her host snapped apart as he was stretched across the wall. Crystal melted and formed around him, creating even tighter shackles. Sunset struggled, but was only able to move her head about. Everything you do is pointless, replica. Vesper brought her face close to Sunset's. Even if you succeed, all you'll do is fade away, making everything you accomplish pointless. I'll create a better future for my friends, Sunset said defiantly. Friends? Vesper looked around the dungeon. I don't see any friends now. Why is their life more important than yours, Why should they get to go on and be happy, and not you, not us? Because Sunset tried to answer her words, but none came to her. They don't care about you, replica. No pony does. You're just an echo, a scapegoat used by Twilight to fix Celestia's mistake. No one's gonna care once you're gone. Let us celebrate the fact they defeated another villain. You're wrong. They do care about me. Vesper's fabulous smile gave Sunset a terrible chill. Oh, they do care, do they? She stepped closer, rose up on her hind legs. You still don't understand, do you? She crossed her front hooves against Sunset's head, and purple smoke clung to her eyes. I'll show you how much they care, replica. Sunset pulled her neck back. twisting and struggling as Fester brought her horn closer to Sunset's own. Red glow blinded Sunset as her eyes shrank to mere dots. She was standing back of Honeyville Library. The smell of bark and parchment greeted her nose. Seated at the table, in front of Sunset was all her friends, talking and laughing. Girls, Sunset sighed in relief. I'm so glad to see you. None of them seemed to notice, however. They carried on like Sunset wasn't even there. She walked around the table, waving a hoof in front of their faces, but none of them batted an eye. Don't bother, a voice hissed in her ear. They can't hear you. You don't exist, remember? That's a lie. You already played this trick. I do exist. Perhaps, for a time, perhaps. But look at you now. Look at what they think of your memory. Spike entered the room from the kitchen while playing sandwiches. He sat on the table and allowed Twilight to ruffle spines. So glad everything's back to normal, Twilight, she said before biting into her sandwich. Yep, Pinky chirped. No more evil curses, no more monsters, no more Sunset Shimmer. Rainbow grinned. You said it. I'm glad we don't have to deal with her anymore. Sunset gritted her teeth. If this is the best you've got, you gotta try harder. I know this isn't real. Maybe not yet, Vesper whispered. But this is the outcome if you help them. Twilight swallowed her food and said, Agreed. She was only good for destroying her evil half. Now the world is safe and she's gone. Perfect victory in my book. Twilight's words held such honesty and conviction. Sunset staggered from her sting. You see, Twilight always saw you as a puppet after all. And the rest of them are just glad not to have you dragging them down anymore. Lies. I know they're lies. That's all they were. Twisted words from Vesper. Yet why did they continue to rile her soul? Why was despair crawling its way through her? If they wanted you so badly, why did they let the guards carry you off? Really? That's your big weapon? Really? Because if they fought back, they would be caught too? Like, dude. There's Vesper, sweet. There's some logical responses here. Why are you legacy in the dungeon? Because Twilight hasn't gotten to her brother yet? Sunset shook her head. They'll come. I know it. She was such a crybaby. Quite selfish sometimes, too. She thought she was so good with magic. Show off. She made a pretty decent sacrifice, though, and that was all she was good for. As they laughed and continued the insults and her jabs, Sunset took quivering gulps of air to keep her tears down. She turned around and ran out the library, only to find herself in the throne room of Carolot Castle. Twilight sat on her throne, booking her magic. Well, she said, looking over the top. Sunset Shimmer. What an equestria do I have to do to get rid of you? Princess, please! Twilight dropped the book and flew out the dais. Her host slammed her stone thrower. Vibrations knocked Sunset on her back. The only reason I kept you around was so you could kill yourself at the right moment and cease to exist. 2 birds with 1 stone. She charged her horn. But you can't even do that right. Twilight's eyes turned red and her smile revealed all her sharp teeth. Sunset tried to turn and run, but Arc's electricity were definitely quicker. She screamed, but only for a second. She spit down her lip and thrashed her body, begging for the pain to end. Her eyes snapped open. The illusion of Twilight tormenting her fading into reality that was Vesper's cold maniacal laugh. Go ahead. Scream! Scream for all of your friends to come and help you! Scream all you want! But no one's going to hear you! You're an idiot! Lightning tore through Sunset's veins, turning her body into a living circuit. Tears freely fell from her eyes, but she refused to make any noise. Piece of copper leaked through her mouth from her punctured lips. Vesper ceased her outpouring of electricity and frowned. Why aren't you screaming? Sunset panted, unable to say anything. Are you in not enough pain? Do you want me to hurt you even more? Vesper's horn lit up as she jerked to the side. Sunset gasped as a gas split open across her cheek, sprinkling blood across the floor. The new wound then burned like somebody pressed a hot wire against it. Sunset beat her head against the wall, but did not say a word. Vesper rolled her head to the side. Are you trying to act tough? You think you're a strong pony because you won't scream. Vesper's face assaulted a hideous mask of anger. I'm going to make you beg for your life! Vesper, you do realize that if you manage to do this, all this is going to do is piss Twilight off. If Twilight's pissed off, then she's going to kill you. You still lose! Sunset threw her head back, feeling the lightning return to rack her body. She opened her mouth, but no sound escaped. Pain interfered with any of her thoughts. She was driven now by one desire, not to scream. Source of electricity faded from her body, but Sunset had no time to breathe peacefully. Her skin erupted in blisters as a blanket of fire covered her. The screams tore her throat, but she never released them. Instead, she made a shrill whine. Vesper rolled in frustration, spittle flying from her mouth. The wave of fire ended, and the crystal shackles fell away, dropping Sunset to the floor. A barred chain extended from Vesper's horn, wrapped around Sunset's throat. Hoisted through the air, slanted on a hard surface. Worthless! Sunset slammed the wall. Peace! She slid against the ceiling. She was thrown against the floor again. Trash! Sunset's body trembled, unresponsive to her desire to get up. A hoof slanted to her stomach. She collided with the bars of her cell. Who's the tough one now, A hoof smashed into her muscle. Blood burst in the side of her nose and mouth. There's no Princess Twilight, and her shield spell to protect you this time. Vesper stomped her hoof against Sunset's face repeatedly. Look of anger melted into ecstasy as her hoof came down faster. Red exploded across Sunset's fist, and every time the hoof came down, her muzzle was so broken she could barely breathe through her nose. She wasn't sure she could scream even if she wanted to. Girls, please, help me. When Vesper was done, she picked Sunset up again and threw her back against the wall. You never had a chance to beat me anyway, Replica. That's why your life is pointless. You failed at the one thing you were meant to do. A silver dagger floated from Vesper's coat. How does it feel, She stabbed Sunset at her shoulder, right where her stitches were. Sunset's eyes bulged and he flailed weakly, but she still made no noise. Vesper withdrew the dagger slowly. It's as it slicing Sunset's shoulder open. How does it feel to know your life is meaningless because you're a failure? She stabbed Sunset in the opposite shoulder. No, you couldn't do the one thing asked of you. Let so many ponies down. Sunset spat out a mouthful of blood. Talking to me, or myself, or yourself? She managed to speak in a hoarse voice, her mouth twisted in a broken smile. Vesper slashed the dagger across her face, brought it back and looked at the blood coating it. She let some of it up and down, smacked her lips. Even our blood tastes the same. You taste your own blood? I don't think blood's keyed into the individuality. It's a metaphor! Yet you're the sorriest excuse for a reincarnation any pony could ask for. The dagger hovered between them, pointing at Sunset's chest. Well, I think there's only time to resolve one Sunset Shimmer again. I promised you a slow, painful death. I believe I make good on that promise. She plunged the dagger into Sunset's hair. Sunset made a frightened, gurgling noise. She tried to raise the hoof to play the blade out, but her body refused to respond. Vesper leaned forward and whispered in her ear, "Just be grateful, Replica. I'm granting you a mercy death. You get to go to whatever comes next instead of oblivion. You're out the hook. Die with a happy thought." Sunset felt the dagger rip itself free from her, for the world twisted in on itself and vanished in a tunnel of light. Vesper's laugh was the last thing she heard.